All right, folks, welcome. I'm glad you stumbled upon my humble little YouTube channel here. In this episode, we're going to be talking about some Gundam, the new Netflix series Requiem for Vengeance. In my opinion, it's all it really is opinion based. I'll have some of my backing facts and things like that. But hey, you know what? Stay, watch, don't watch. It's cool. I'm a big fan, mostly models doing things like that, building it, watching it. There are some that I haven't watched, so I am working my way back through, but we can get to that throughout. Basically, we're just going to go ahead and talk about the show, pros, cons, things of that nature. So, yeah, hopefully you guys stick around, check it out. Like I said, just starting in all of this stuff, and that's one of the things that I really like to do. So, hey, I'm going to get out there and we're going to make some videos. This channel is going to consist of a couple of podcasts, maybe once a week or so. Monday nights we'll record, probably drop Tuesdays, things like that. Little videos here and there. We're going to try something different with while we're making model kits, whatever they are. Just kind of having discussions, just like a round table while we're building and talking, just hanging out. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and you stick around. So this is the channel is This Is Not a Tutorial. Thought we'd go with that. Sounds good. Sometimes it's hard to work into a sentence, but whatever. Basically, we're just going to kind of get into it. Overall, I don't think it was a good series. I think they dropped the ball on a lot of things, and I'm going to probably get some hate comments for what I will say about it. And maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get some positive feedback on some of that. So if you guys drop comments, do things, please let me know. Maybe we can do a part two to it. Maybe there will be a second season. Who knows? I doubt it though, just because I think IMDb has it as 6.7, which I think that's being a little generous. So let's start with the pros. Start with some of the pros. Overall, the Gundam design, well, the mechs or the mobile suit designs, I think were pretty spot on. I think they're pretty good. I think they were going for that hyper realistic feel, how they would kind of look in nowadays if they were built and things like that. So I think they kind of hit the mark on a lot. The goofs. I don't honestly. For all these years, I still don't know. I like goffs. It sounds better than goofs. I think they were designed very well. I think they look great. I wish the swords would have been a little more intimidating. I think they were pretty basic, just straight blade kind of. They should have had the arc, the scimitar look to it. I think it should have been a lot better. But overall, I think they were a great design with the big Gatling gun underneath the shield. That was really cool. The overall just menace of them. I think they were great. The Zaku's. Let's spend some time on the Zaku's. One of my all-time favorite is the Red Comet, the Psycho. As you can see there, we have a little. My PC's kind of decked out as the Red Comet. It's got two-tone paint, matches it. It's pretty cool. One of these days, I'll get it mounted somewhere so you guys can take a look at it. I think the Zaku's were good and bad. The ears. Let's just start with the ears. I think the ears were stupid. I get it's wolves, the red wolves. Okay, fine. Why don't we just go with some really cool paint scheme or something? Why does it on the shield have like the Midnighters, right? They had a cool little emblem thing. That's how you knew what they were. I think the ears were just dumb. I don't think they served a purpose. I know like the Red Comet's got a fin. I can understand maybe some of the snipers. They've got their little whatever you want to call it. I guess their radio. But just it they don't seem to serve a function. And I think they look kind of goofy. You could have gone with something a little more menacing, I guess, for Red Wolves. But yeah, I think the ears were kind of dumb. I think that I don't think they had the skirt, the traditional like skirt that the Zaku's had. So kind of missed on that one. When they put the the treads on it, what is that going to do? I mean, they literally disabled the gun cannons with just regular bullets in the tanks or in the treads. So they're like, shoot the treads. Okay, why would then we glue them all over they're useless. We know he has beam weapons. Why, you know what I mean? Like this double layer of armor. You had all kinds of scrap Zaku's everywhere. Give me a double layer of armor. Give me something else. I think the tank treads were another stupid tip. I don't like, oh, we're junkyard. We just patched this together. Like, we're going to beat you now. Like, come on. Like, give us a little something more. The the female main character, we'll circle back to that. she basically had fishnets on the shoulder, the spike shoulder. I'm like, come on, like I guess I can understand you have a little flair to your like that's my Zaku, yeah. Fishnets, really? Like it's just it's a net. It looks like fishnets. Like come on, the other dude had like a weird BDSM chain thing going on. Like, all right, I guess fine, but ultimately, why? You look at most other iterations of Gundam, they'll have little markers here and there maybe, but nothing like that. So I think that was another bad choice for the Zaku's. But they had the big hulky feet, the machine guns. They used that a lot. I wish they would have showed more of the sniper one. That guy looked pretty sick. Just that was really spot on. I think that one looked really good. And then yeah, they didn't use the B maxes until like much later. Like how do you not you see the the Gundam for the first time and he has a beam weapon and you're like, well, we kind of have these beam axes. Maybe we should use those. And we're gonna keep shooting bullets at them. They seem to work well. Just impervious. Like come on, like it for them being the most renowned Zaku fighting team. They kind of had poor tactics a lot of times, and it was just like just because they barely made it out of a conflict or a battle or whatever, they now have, you know, a name to them. They're like the most renowned, all the Red Wolves, like, right? The dude makes, or later on, one of the goofs, or Goffs, see, I'm already saying it, one of the Goffs makes a comment about, like, oh, it's great we have the leader of the Red Wolves with us. That's great. Like, maybe that the leader seems to get a lot of people killed a lot and can't really control her troops. So I don't know if that's a good thing. I think you guys would have been better off without her. Um, so I think that's it. And then I think a lot of people were kind of putting down the face of the Gundam. I mean, that looked like the EX. I mean, that's what it looked like. I think that was fine. The only thing I didn't get or I didn't like was the extra lines in the eyes. I think it took away from that menace they were probably trying to go with, the red, and then they just had like the two little, like I don't know if they were going for like little eyeballs or something or what the deal was with that, but I don't think that was a very good design either. You kind of took away from the aesthetic of it being, you know, super like, oh dude, this thing is a ghost. It could barely be touched. You know, it's killing everybody. So I was kind of a bummer about that. I think it took away some of the scariness, if you will, the intimidation. So let's see, we got the gun with the mobile suit. You have the GMs, the gems at the later. I think they're great design. They look really good. Gun cannons, you know, some of the Zaku cannon, that was pretty cool. The jets look good. I think a lot of the design was fine. I think people are kind of being super nitpicky with some of it, like some of the conversations and comments I've seen. They're pulling out some of the stress, and I don't think they're focusing on the right thing. I think a lot of the a lot of the Gundam battles or the mobile suit battles, a lot of the that was wonderfully done. I'm not a fan of the that art style. I think it looked pretty not well done. It wasn't very polished. I just like it almost seems like it was rushed. Like how do you you know like you have such a valuable IP and you're gonna put that out? You're gonna you're gonna set that out there. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit when it came to say like it's just it looked like a PlayStation 3 cutscene. You know what I mean? Like it didn't seem like a big studio production, if you will, especially it being like a hyper realistic. And that's why I don't like that style of the 3D usage and stuff. I need to get away from that. I think you need to go back to hand drawn or you know doing maybe like a smaller edition of the 3D. I think like Demon Slayer, they kind of do it like there'll be some of the 3D, but a lot of it is still drawn instead of rendered like that. So I think they definitely dropped the ball on that, and that's what a lot of people said. They just the way that the characters kind of moved and stuff, it didn't seem very smooth. So that's kind of a bummer. Now to I guess the meat and potatoes, the main character Solari. I'm not a fan. I'm kind of done with the female super duper awesome person as the head of everything trope. It's getting old, and it's flopping a lot lately. And I think you take away from good potential character building just because you want to make them female. And I was surprised that she wasn't a lesbian. I was surprised with the shaved head and everything. I thought for sure she was gonna be like my partner. Got him. But no, you had a husband. Okay, all right. Still not on board. I think she wasn't very good at what she was doing. She got a lot of her troops killed. They didn't have good tactics. All of a sudden, she'd be like, "Okay, on the whim of it, I can figure out. We'll blow the tanker thing so we can get away and do that." Like, you had no tactics. Okay, the Gundam comes in. He just starts annihilating things. You got to think on your feet. Fine. There was plenty of times where they could have planned out a little bit more. When they're at the base, like I said, they're gluing tank tracks to the chest. Like, it did nothing. He still lost that other dude, Lucero. I can't remember the other guy's name that always kept running off. He became like second in command. You have no control over your troops. Her whole story didn't quite make sense either, and I think it was one of those where they were just trying to make her like the best of the best as fast as possible. I have a problem with the new type story. Just because you're born in space doesn't make you a new type. I Being a space noid is a part of it, but new types were specific people, not everybody who's born in space. And I think they kind of glossed over that and didn't make it something more manageable. And if you look through some of the stories, the new types were kind of hunted out and used in programs to become pilots, not a musician, a superior violinist, and then all of a sudden you're a mech pilot. You could have had such a better story. I think that was kind of bogus. I don't think it was very good. And just some of the scenes, you didn't build on her character very well. The scene where she's playing for all the zombies, like, what did that do? Like, she was going through some little existential crisis because a bunch of people died. Because you're not good at what you do. Because you were a violinist, like 3 years ago or something. All of a sudden, you're the leader of this elite group of Zaku pilots. Like, you could have come up with something totally better. You could have showed her through a program. You could have made her that much better of a pilot and had better tactics if you would have, like, put her through a quick military program thing. Like, that's not that hard, but you wanted to add that she was like a superior musician as well. And the only scene you showed with her kid was without the husband, which I'm assuming the husband was dead before. You know what I mean? Like, okay, why can't we show any scenes with them? Show what that meant before he then passed, and now it's just the kid. Like, they glossed over so much. So I they shouldn't have put it. They shouldn't have put it out. I don't know. I think they probably should have just held off, not done this, or they just did with a very small budget and didn't really care what the reception was. And then explain to me, like, this is where the whole, like, I am female, hear me roar stuff gets in the way, because how is it now? I understand some majors and some of the higher ups in the Xeon army are kind of like bitches. Basically, they're not very. They want that easy life, right? As like a higher up, it's fine. I totally get it. She literally came in, stepped all over this dude, and then just took over. Like, he had nothing. He was just like, I'm just an alcoholic now. Fine, and you can have it all, and then I'm just gonna be a bitch about it. Like, the one dude who is higher up in command is a total bitch about it. Like, okay, they get to, I think, the first base, the last Xeon soldier left is a female, and come on, like, she's holding it down for everybody. Like, come on, we're tired of this stuff, dude. A lot of the males in this didn't act strong, except for the major general. I forget his name, but like, with the open shirt, like the straight out of anime design, that was fantastic. Came up with this battle plan to get the GMs and all. Here's some keys we got, go get them, and then they don't get any. So it's like, all right, cool. The Gundam pilot being, a small kid, kind of shows that the Earth Federation had a pilot program 100%, right? He's just not somebody they just grabbed. They probably were training him. Why can't there be, a give and take? Why couldn't Xeon have trained her, right? Or if they did, they didn't show anything of it, and she wasn't doing a good job, but somehow she's the leader of this elite pack. Like, they're just trying to make it so that the female, is so much better than all the males, and I don't buy into it. And it's kind of getting old, because you look through any of the other series, any of the other Gundam stories, you have plenty of main characters that are female that are fantastic. I'm rewatching G Gundam. Burning Gundam is my favorite. I have two master grades that we're going to be working on. I love Shining, God, Burning, whatever you want to call it, whatever iteration. My favorite Gundam, besides the Zaku. I guess my favorite Gundam on the Gundam side, Red Comet being the best Zaku on the bad guy side. Rain, the female who's with Domon, like she actually pilots the Gundam at a certain point. Like you have plenty to back that up, and she wasn't somebody who was trained in that, and she's a great strong character throughout the whole series. Who else? Thunderbolt is probably my favorite iteration of Gundam, especially with the Psycho Zaku. Excuse me. You have Claudia, who ends up being the like she's spoiler alert, right? If you haven't seen any of this stuff, go check it out. Thunderbolt, excuse me, Thunderbolt is, like I said, my favorite. It brings so much discussion to it too, because it's canon. It's not canon. It kind of is. It kind of isn't. It's another story. I mean, you can, if you want to try and fit it in as canon, there's arguable points. If you don't, there's not. I mean, it is one of those things that it brings up such a good debate and discussion of, so like, no, it should be, no, it's not, but it's real and it's gritty. That's why I liked it. It was, especially with Daryl Lorenz, like him losing limbs and like going through the program that he did, and the abuse that it was, like it showed probably what was going on. Not so fanciful and light and airy. It was gritty. Like that was how it probably was, right? It was, pilots were dying, people were losing limbs, like just to go through the training process. But you have Claudia, who was her predecessor got killed, so then she was made the captain of and I can't remember what the ship was for the Earth Federation. And then EO, their interaction, right? Claudia was basically just like this drugged out, person who was thrust into this position and had to figure it out, right? And then there's all kinds of story from there that she follows. That's cool. Clara, I think is it Clara? Yeah, or Carla with Daryl. Her relationship with multiple Gundam pilots and how she was so involved in the program with them. You have plenty to pull from most, if not all, of the iterations. I haven't watched Wish from Mercury. I will, but it was one I saw that the main character, and then it turned out later she was lesbian. It's like, I'll give it a chance. Absolutely, maybe it'll blow me away. Whatever. It just off the surface, I don't want to watch it. I'm not gonna waste my time with that. I don't like that. I like a good built story. I like a good male character. Like this is something that was built of, like, it's not every woman's fantasy to pilot a Gundam or a Zaku. It's every dude's fantasy if it ever became reality. I'd be standing at the front of that line trying to figure out how to pilot a mobile suit. Are you kidding me? I would probably die in the first, because I couldn't use any brain waves, but it doesn't matter. That's not the fantasy from that side. So why do you keep forcing that in? You can have plenty of characters that females can look up to and be like, that's great. In Gundam Seed, in Double O, they all had female characters that were leaders of the ships, that were, commanders, that were like higher ups. They were fantastic. Why can't we just go back to that? And that was one of the things that it drives me nuts. And I will watch, I'll give it hope. I just give it hope. Please let it be good, right? It looked cool. Some of the first previews that came out looked great. It was from a different side, right? It's like Thunderbolt. So I like Thunderbolt because it plays off of both sides. It shows that these folks get thrown into this war that they may not have any stake in politically or anything. They may not believe in the side they're fighting for, but maybe they believe in a greater good, whatever it is, right? Which, that's not always a good thing. You're playing it from the Xeon side. Okay, cool. Let's see. And again, it's just like, why do we have to go down the same road? And I'm seeing a lot of people defend it tooth and nail. I think a lot of the discussions I see, though, are on the designs of the mobile suits as opposed to the actual story, which I think is funny because people don't really want to touch that story because it's not good. You want to force it into a timeline here, this little alternate. Okay, we can absolutely do something, right? It fits in between, I think, the '08 and the 1 Year War and things like that. That's fine. That's great. Let's make another story. Just like, just a little timeline shoot up. That's fine. Why do we have to go about it this way? And I guarantee that's why everyone is not giving it as good a review, and they're trying to pick at things that they can fight on that doesn't seem controversial, right? When it comes to like, oh, it's a female lead, we don't want to watch it anymore. It's not getting good reviews. One, it's just not a good story. You could totally have a female lead and be a good story, and that's why Witcher Mercury is probably on that fence, because I've heard a lot of things about the story that are pretty good. At face value, I just didn't want to push through with it. You know what I mean? So it it's just one of those things where everyone's arguing over just the design as opposed to probably the story that could have been better. I think folks would have been like, that's fine. The design's cool. Like, I totally get it. If the story was better, they wouldn't be fighting over these little things, trying to avoid the good, the good part of it, or the good part of the discussion, which is the main character. I think it kind of shows in a lot of this new, and a lot of the new culture that's coming around is kind of a bummer. That's why I'm going back and I'm kind of starting over, watching some of these Gundam shows, because that was when it was good. Iron Blood, great, fantastic. I have some things negative to say about it, but ultimately it was a great show, wonderful. Like I said, you have Thunderbolt that I think they just finished this year, 2024, I think. So the manga just finished it, 24 volumes or something like that. That's great. Well, let's see what the series wraps up. If it does, if it doesn't, I know it was kind of it's like Game of Thronesy, where it was kind of getting ahead of it and not really, it was trying to fill in some blanks here without knowing the info. So without dropping too many spoilers on that one. But yeah, ultimately, I think it was just a negative show. I don't think it was very good. The new type discussion. I almost forgot about this. So I almost touched on it. The fact that she was just like all of a sudden this psychic, she's like great, whatever. How did it just not come up before, right? Like, how is it just like, oh, but now because the other pilot is that why? Because then they kind of feed off each other. So the pilot of the Gundam was a new type, so he had, it's kind of like the two spider senses, right? Like they kind of know each other. So is that why it was kind of acting up? Like she kept hearing, she would get the forewarning, a spider sense, and in a way, it just didn't. I had some of the stuff, but again, it didn't add up because they just thrust it all in there. Like, you didn't explain it well enough to where I'll try and watch it, I knowing the info, but I'll try and watch it at face value to where I won't be nitpicky while I'm watching it. That I'm an outsider watching it, a newbie, a normie, whatever term you use. Somebody who hasn't watched Gundam before, and it's just like, hey, that looks pretty cool. Big robots, okay, I like that. You start watching it and see what it's about. They don't explain a lot, and you don't necessarily have to go into, because talk about the lore, right? That's like trying to get somebody into Warhammer. Now there's so much lore. Like, it has been around since what, the 70s? My goodness, late 70s, I think. How are you gonna explain some of that stuff? You can't. So you if you're gonna introduce some elements, you at least should have a quick backstory to it. What is a new type? Somebody born in space? Yes, but also no. Like, it's a very select few, because it's an evolution of humans that, I'm sure radiation, right? Like, you could probably chalk it up as space radiation that has turned them into something more. Unicorn, there's another one, right? I think that's where the innovators come in. So they have A level, alpha brain waves and all that stuff. So then it dives in more. But if you're still going to introduce the fact that it's a new type, you're skipping over some stuff, because if they know a little bit about it, Amuro was a new type, but he was born on Earth. So just because he was raised in space, that kind of defeats it a little bit, right? That's been an argument for a while. But again, just ultimately, I just don't think it was a good story. I think they tried to just fit it into like a square peg round hole. You had plenty, but because there seemed to be a little bit of an agenda behind it, doesn't fit now. And I think it turns some people away from ever becoming fans of it, or at least any of the new stuff. So if you go back and start watching some of the good stuff, that's fine. I was born in the 90s. That's the nostalgia bait, right? Like, watching Wing when it actually aired, proud dad moment. I put on Wing. I was like maybe 5 months ago or so. I think we were just going through Hulu. Hulu's got Wing Double O. I think they have Zeta. They have a couple of the movies, the first movies. Um, anyway, I put Wing on. I'm like, hey, let's watch some Gundam. And the kids, my young kids, 3 and 4, ate it up. They loved it. They just can't get enough Gundam. They know that I like it, so they're like, hey, that's cool. We watched the entire series. Like every downtime we had, thrown on Gundam. So great moment. It's really cool that you get to introduce that to the next generation. I'm gonna try and just keep them away from the newer shows until they're old enough to maybe make a decision or do what they want to do. But I think ultimately you have to kind of push them back towards the shows you grew up on, because that's when a story was a story. It wasn't pushing anything to the front. I mean, I'm sure if you dissected some of these, you probably could find something that was odd or like, it wasn't a good idea. But I mean, ultimately, that's when the shows were just made because they were cool, because they were actually cartoons on Saturday morning, Saturday night Toonami run. Like, there was probably some of the best shows in cartoon animation. Um, it's not around anymore. It's very rare. Um, I mean, a lot of folks like Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, probably some of my favorite animes that will ever live. I've watched Bebop I don't know how many times. I I couldn't even get past first episode of the live action one, and I was like, this is a bad idea. It's a really bad idea, and it ended up being a bad idea. Like, go figure. You can't remake stuff like that. You can't. And the problem is, like, they'll see that folks like it, and they're like, hey, maybe we can make an extension of it. Maybe we can make something new out of it. Like, stop it. Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. Maybe bring up some toys or something. Maybe some like new figurines or things like that. Like, don't try and recreate what was there. You're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get it because it nowadays it's gone. Nobody likes that. Um, Trigun, Stampede. I know we're kind of going off here. We started with the Gundam review, and now we're kind of, but it kind of plays into the same thing, right? The Stampede was bad. I don't care what people say. I was not a fan. I think it was really dumb, and I don't understand if it was a remake. I don't understand if it was a continuation. They made Vash look even dumber. Like, he was the main character. It made him kind of look like really stupid. And I mean, it's a great Meryl origin story, if you will. Like, they followed her a lot, and that's great. That's fine. If that's what it was based on, I think that should have been in the title somewhere. Like Trigun Meryl's beginning. Like, give me something more, because it didn't seem like they were introducing characters that didn't fit any kind of timeline and how they interacted with them, and Millie was a part of a lot of that interaction, and it didn't show up until the very last, the very end, and just the whole thing with knives, and it was weird, and I don't think it was very good. I know they were probably trying to cover more of other characters, but they really only hit Meryl. Like, there's not too many other characters, and they have Wolfwood in there way too early. And you're like, bro, what? Why are we talking about him already? Sorry, it's another review for another time. Maybe, I don't know. I behind the ball, and that came out a while ago. But ultimately, some of these newer shows they're starting to move from the comics, the MCU, the DCEU. They're trying to move out because they're seeing that it's slowly. We'll see what James Gunn does. Everyone's hailing him. He's trying to distance himself from these atrocities that are coming out, except for the Penguin. Well, the Penguin's not a part of it, but it's getting to the point where you're destroying IPs, and you're destroying shows that a lot of us in our 30s, maybe 40s, right? That group right there, we absolutely loved. I have, I mean, I had a lot more model kits. I think unfortunately when I moved, they ended up in the void somewhere, and I was kind of bummed about that. But I've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 9 on layaway in the old backlog, and I've probably got 12 to 15 up there. Half of that is a master grade. So, and I'm working on the RX 78, the 3.0. So far, great kit. Really like it. Some of the pieces, it's very articulate. They're very tiny, and yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. But I mean, ultimately, that's what I like. Stop crushing this stuff for the next generations. So that's pretty much the end of the review. I think it was a negative show. I don't think you should go out and watch it. Don't waste your time unless you truly just want to just have it on to say, I did it. Um, Pick something better. Gundam, G, Wing, Seed, Double O, whatever. Unicorn, Iron Blood. That's a newer one. It's very good. But again, just pick something else. So if you made it to the end of the video, go ahead and check me out. Lazy Titan 808 underscore 808 on the old Twitter. And then, this is not a tutorial. It's going to be a good channel. We're going to start dropping videos more regularly. I'm going to try and work on not having a cold start and put together some sort of intro video. So maybe next time we'll see what that's looking like. So appreciate you guys. Almost made it to the end. Appreciate you guys coming out, watching the video. Hit the like button. Don't, whatever. Leave a comment. That'd be great. Boost that algorithm. All right. Well, we'll catch you later. Bye.